Kelechi had always been a quiet, hard-working man. Every morning, he woke before sunrise, checked his small fleet of delivery motorbikes, and planned routes for his logistics business, Swift Move. He knew Lagos wasn't kind to small entrepreneurs, but he believed in building something meaningful, brick by brick. His wife, Amarachi, on the other hand, had little patience for his slow but steady efforts. She often bragged about her friends' wealthy husbands and openly compared them to Kelechi, painting him as a nobody in front of everyone. That Sunday brunch was supposed to be casual, just a simple meet-up with her friends at a popular rooftop cafe. But the moment they sat down, Amarachi launched into her usual routine. Kelechi? Oh, you know him. He's still running that tiny delivery thing. He'll never be like the men we know, she said, laughter dripping from her voice. Her friends giggled, some whispering comments, others nodding knowingly. Kelechi sat across from her, a plate of food untouched, his fingers tightening around his fork. Every word felt like a punch to the chest, yet he said nothing. He didn't argue, he didn't defend himself. He simply smiled faintly, hiding the storm of humiliation and hurt burning inside him. He noticed the way her friends exchanged glances, some smirking, some trying to suppress laughter. Amarachi continued, mocking his small delivery bikes, the unpaid bills, and even the idea that he could ever expand his business. Kelechi's heart sank, but he refused to let anger control him in that moment. Instead, he studied her face, observing the pride she carried in publicly belittling him. Inside, something shifted. The embarrassment stung, yes, but it also sparked a quiet determination. He realized that words spoken in mockery couldn't define him. While Amarachi reveled in her perceived superiority, Kelechi decided that one day, he would let results speak louder than insults. He would prove his worth not through arguments or shouting, but by building something undeniable, something Amarachi, her friends, and everyone who doubted him couldn't ignore. As the brunch ended and Amarachi left laughing with her friends, Kelechi stayed behind for a moment, staring out at the bustling Lagos streets. He felt small, but in that smallness a fire began to grow. Humiliation had touched him, but it had also lit the first spark of a journey that would change everything. This was the day Kelechi decided to turn mockery into motivation. After leaving the cafe, Kelechi walked through the busy streets of Lagos, the hum of traffic and shouting street vendors barely registering in his mind. Amarachi's words echoed in his head, each insult sharper than the last. For the first time in years, he felt truly seen. Not for his efforts, but for what others mocked him to be. The humiliation weighed heavy, and a dull ache settled in his chest. But beneath it, something stronger was stirring. He knew arguing with Amarachi wouldn't change her, wouldn't erase the laughter of her friends, and wouldn't prove anything. If he wanted respect, it had to come from results, not words. Kelechi went home and sat quietly in the small office he had carved out in their apartment. His delivery bikes, invoices, and spreadsheets were spread before him, each one a reminder of his small but growing dream. He opened his laptop and began searching for ways to improve. He signed up for online courses in logistics, marketing, and business management, determined to learn every strategy that could give him an edge. Late into the night, he studied routing efficiencies, customer retention techniques, and social media marketing. Each lesson felt like a small victory, a brick added to a foundation that no one could see yet. Despite the loneliness, Kelechi felt a strange kind of peace. The world outside may have laughed at him, but here in these quiet hours, he was investing in himself. He allowed the anger and embarrassment. After leaving the cafe, Kelechi walked through the busy streets of Lagos, the hum of traffic and shouting street vendors barely registering in his mind. Amarachi's words echoed in his head, each insult sharper than the last. For the first time in years, he felt truly seen, not for his efforts but for what others mocked him to be. The humiliation weighed heavy, and a dull ache settled in his chest, but beneath it, something stronger was stirring. He knew arguing with Amarachi wouldn't change her, wouldn't erase the laughter of her friends, and wouldn't prove anything. If he wanted respect, it had to come from results, not words. Kelechi went home and sat quietly in the small office he had carved out in their apartment. His delivery bikes, invoices, and spreadsheets were spread before him, each one a reminder of his small but growing dream. He opened his laptop and began searching for ways to improve. He signed up for online courses in logistics, marketing, and business management, determined to learn every strategy that could give him an edge. Late into the night, he studied routing efficiencies, customer retention techniques, and social media marketing. Each lesson felt like a small victory, a brick added to a foundation that no one could see yet. Despite the loneliness, Kelechi felt a strange kind of peace. The world outside may have laughed at him, but here, in these quiet hours, he was investing in himself. He allowed the anger and embarrassment to become fuel rather than poison. Every time Amarachi's words replayed in his mind, he transformed them into plans, to-do lists, and strategies. He stopped wishing she would apologize, and instead wished only to grow stronger, smarter, and more capable than ever before. Even simple moments became opportunities. He analyzed deliveries for efficiency, called suppliers to negotiate better rates, and brainstormed ways to expand his client base. Friends and family noticed him quieter, more focused, but Kelechi didn't care. This was a private war he had to win for himself first. Every decision, every action, was a step toward proving that his worth wasn't measured by someone else's approval, but by what he could achieve through perseverance, skill, and patience. In those long, quiet nights, Kelechi began to understand something important. Humiliation could hurt, but it could also awaken a fire. He wasn't going to react with anger or confrontation. He was going to respond with success, and nothing else would matter. Kelechi's days became a blur of early mornings and late nights. He woke before dawn, checking each delivery bike, ensuring they were fueled and ready for the long day ahead. He mapped out routes across Lagos, juggling dozens of packages with precision. Every morning, he carried a heavy backpack filled with bills, invoices, and plans, knowing that each delivery, each call, each meeting was a step toward proving his worth. But the city wasn't easy. Traffic snarls, broken roads, and unpredictable weather made even the simplest deliveries a challenge. Clients could be just as difficult. Some delayed payments for weeks, leaving Kelechi scrambling to cover expenses and pay his small team. Others were rude, dismissing his polite explanations or questioning his prices because his business was too small compared to the big delivery companies. There were moments when his heart sank, and he wondered if he would ever get ahead. Competitors with fleets of vehicles, flashy branding, and years of reputation seemed untouchable. And yet, Kelechi refused to give up. Every rejection, every delay, every skeptical client became a lesson rather than a setback. He learned to negotiate smarter, finding creative solutions to satisfy clients while protecting his small margins. He reached out to local stores and online businesses, offering flexible contracts and personal service that big companies couldn't match. He remembered every mistake and every lost opportunity, turning them into strategies for growth. Slowly, he began to see small wins. A satisfied client here, a timely delivery there. That reminded him that persistence paid off. Kelechi worked quietly, never boasting, never seeking attention. He knew recognition would come later if he stayed consistent. While Amarachi continued her dismissive behavior at home, he focused on building the foundation that would one day make her words meaningless. Every evening, exhausted but determined, he jotted down ideas for improving efficiency, managing his small staff, and expanding services. He became a master of patience, learning that real success was rarely instant and often required long, unseen effort. Through the struggle, Kelechi grew stronger, more resilient, and more determined. Each challenge, instead of breaking him, reinforced his vision. He realized that the journey itself was teaching him skills, discipline, and humility, qualities no insult or mockery could ever take away. By the time night fell over Lagos and the streets quieted, Kelechi had already planned tomorrow's deliveries, contracts, and goals. Every setback was now fuel, every obstacle a stepping stone, and every long hour a silent promise to himself. He would succeed quietly, until the world could no longer ignore him. One rainy morning, Kelechi received a call that felt like a small victory. A local grocery store, tired of unreliable deliveries from bigger companies, wanted him to handle their regular shipments. The contract was modest, but it was a start, a sign that his hard work was finally being noticed. Kelechi prepared carefully, checking his bikes, organizing schedules, and mapping routes to ensure every delivery would be perfect. He knew this was his chance to prove himself not just to others, but to the voice inside that had doubted him during Amarachi's harsh words. The first week was tense. He woke before sunrise, navigated Lagos's congested streets, and delivered every package on time. Some clients called with urgent requests, last-minute changes, or complaints, but Kelechi handled each one calmly, politely, and professionally. By the end of the week, the store manager called him personally to thank him for his consistency and dedication. Word began to spread slowly. Other shop owners and small businesses started asking for his services, impressed by his reliability and honesty. Each new client felt like a small victory, a confirmation that his quiet persistence was paying off. For the first time in months, Kelechi's confidence began to grow. He felt pride in his work, a sense of purpose that Amarachi's ridicule could not touch. While she continued her dismissive remarks at home, calling him still just a small-time delivery man, he no longer let it sting as deeply. He had proof now, evidence that he was capable, skilled, and slowly building something meaningful. Kelechi's evenings were spent reviewing routes, making minor improvements, and noting client feedback. He understood that reputation was earned through consistency, not flashy words or confrontations. His meticulous approach began paying off. Clients started referring him to others, saying, "Swift Move delivers on time, try them out." These referrals brought in more business than he had expected, expanding his small operation one satisfied customer at a time. With each successful delivery, Kelechi felt the invisible chains of humiliation loosening. He realized that progress, even if slow, was far more powerful than temporary insults. His business was gaining momentum, his skills were sharpening, and his confidence was quietly rising. Amarachi's words had lost their power over him. Instead, they were replaced by a growing inner strength. Kelechi knew this was just the beginning, the first glimpse of the success he had been working toward for months. For the first time, he believed that the world was starting to take him seriously, even if she wasn't. A year passed since Kelechi first secured that small grocery store contract, and the transformation in his business was remarkable. From a single motorbike, he had now invested in a small fleet of delivery vehicles, sturdy vans and motorcycles that allowed him to handle larger orders and multiple clients at once. With careful planning, he hired a small team of trustworthy staff, people who shared his dedication to reliability and service. Each new hire was trained personally by Kelechi, ensuring that his standards were maintained, and every delivery reflected the professionalism he demanded. His services expanded beyond the local shops. Online businesses began reaching out, impressed by his reputation for timely deliveries and honesty. Kelechi found himself juggling several contracts at once, clothing stores, electronics sellers, and food delivery businesses all trusting him to handle their products with care. Lagos streets, once a daunting maze, now became familiar territory as he and his team optimized routes and schedules to save time and ensure punctuality. His calendar was filled, his clients satisfied, and word of mouth continued to grow his reach. Even social media began noticing Swift Move logistics. Local bloggers wrote small features praising his efficiency, and customers tagged the company in posts appreciating on-time deliveries and excellent service. Kelechi watched the attention quietly, never boasting or seeking validation online. The recognition was there, but he stayed focused on building his infrastructure, training his staff, and refining operations. He knew that sustainable growth mattered more than instant fame or proving a point. Amarachi, meanwhile, continued her dismissive attitude at home, making occasional remarks about the modest size of his business. But they no longer affected him. Kelechi had learned to let success speak for itself. Each day, he looked at his fleet, his growing staff, and the steady flow of clients, and he felt a quiet satisfaction that came from effort, perseverance, and integrity. He had moved beyond the humiliation of that brunch months ago. The small business that once seemed insignificant was now a respected company in Lagos. Kelechi's focus was not on revenge or proving Amarachi wrong. It was on building something lasting, something that would survive beyond mockery and doubt. His confidence grew not from recognition, but from competence, from knowing he had created a system that worked. The foundation he had built quietly, with patience and resilience, was strong, and he knew that the best was still ahead. Every day, Swift Move Logistics grew a little more, a testament to the power of dedication and vision. Amarachi, feeling the need to show off to her friends again, invited them over for a casual afternoon get-together. She expected the same dynamic as before. Her friends gossiping, laughing, and perhaps poking fun at Kelechi quietly sitting beside her. What she didn't expect was the shift in energy the moment the conversation turned toward business. Her friends, curious about her husband's small delivery company, started asking Kelechi questions almost casually, seeking advice about logistics, running a startup, and managing operations efficiently. At first, Kelechi answered politely, keeping his tone calm and approachable. But as the questions kept coming, he found himself speaking with the same clarity and authority he used in managing his growing business. He explained how to optimize delivery routes, how to maintain customer trust, and how to scale a small operation without losing quality. Every answer was practical, grounded in real experience, and delivered in a way that made even skeptical friends sit up and take notice. He didn't brag or boast. He simply shared knowledge that came from months of dedication and hard work. Amarachi watched in disbelief as her friends leaned in, nodding, asking follow-up questions and jotting down notes. One of them, who had previously mocked her for marrying a nobody, even asked Kelechi for advice on starting a small online business. Another friend admitted she had been struggling with her delivery service, and Kelechi calmly outlined strategies she could implement immediately. The respect he commanded was palpable. It wasn't demanded, it wasn't loud, it was earned through competence and quiet confidence. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. The man Amarachi had ridiculed, the nobody she had mocked, was now the person everyone admired. Her own friends looked to him for guidance, ideas, and insight. Amarachi struggled to hide her embarrassment, shifting uncomfortably in her seat, realizing that her previous judgments were completely unfounded. The power dynamic had changed without a single argument, without any confrontation, just knowledge, skill, and calm assurance. For Kelechi, it was a quiet but satisfying moment. He didn't need to gloat. Seeing respect reflected in her friend's eyes and realizing that his work and dedication had spoken louder than Amarachi's insults was reward enough. This unexpected recognition wasn't just a personal victory. It was proof that persistence, focus, and integrity could change how the world saw you. Sometimes when you least expected it. The room was buzzing with a different energy this time. Amarachi's friends, who had once laughed at Kelechi and joined her in mocking him, now leaned forward eagerly, hanging on his every word. They asked about partnerships, seeking advice on choosing reliable collaborators for their small businesses. They asked about cost-saving strategies, curious how someone with a modest operation like Kelechi's managed to keep clients happy while staying profitable. And they asked for general guidance on success, wanting to know how to turn small ideas into something tangible and respected. Kelechi answered each question with calm authority. He explained the importance of building trust with partners, how clear communication prevented misunderstandings, and the value of consistently delivering on promises. He offered tips on budgeting, controlling overhead costs, and creating a small team that could work efficiently without micromanagement. Every answer was practical, easy to understand, and grounded in his personal experience. There was no arrogance in his tone, no attempt to belittle anyone, just quiet confidence and a willingness to share what he had learned through years of struggle. Amarachi, sitting beside him, shifted uncomfortably. Her face, usually so composed and teasing, betrayed her embarrassment. She tried to interject, make a joke, or steer the conversation, but Kelechi handled everything with ease, redirecting politely and keeping the attention on his advice. The irony was palpable. The man she had publicly humiliated, the nobody she had mocked in front of her friends, was now the one commanding respect. Her friends were asking questions, taking notes, and even complimenting his insights. A complete reversal from the laughter and whispers of the brunch months ago. The satisfaction of the moment wasn't about revenge for Kelechi. It wasn't about proving Amarachi wrong. It was about quiet justice, the natural outcome of years of dedication, focus, and integrity. He didn't need to raise his voice, show off wealth, or flaunt success. The respect he now received was earned through action and competence, not confrontation or showmanship. As the conversation continued, Amarachi's friends began discussing ideas for their own ventures, clearly valuing Kelechi's advice more than ever. The room, once filled with mockery and condescension, now buzzed with admiration and genuine curiosity. For Kelechi, it was a poetic moment, a reminder that true influence comes from knowledge, patience, and consistency. And the best part? No one had to be humiliated to achieve it. The irony was in how effortlessly respect had shifted to him. Soon, the word about Kelechi's growing success began to spread beyond his clients. People in the Lagos business community started talking about Swift Move Logistics, impressed by the reliable service, honesty, and efficiency that Kelechi and his team consistently delivered. Local shop owners recommended him to other entrepreneurs, and small online business groups began sharing his name, praising the professionalism of his delivery network. It wasn't just about deliveries anymore. Kelechi was gaining a reputation as someone who understood business, someone who could guide others quietly but effectively. The attention reached local media. A blogger who covered small business success stories wrote a feature about Swift Move Logistics, highlighting how a modest operation had grown through dedication, smart planning, and personal commitment. Social media accounts shared the story, tagging Kelechi's company and praising his efficiency. Small interviews followed, with journalists asking him about entrepreneurship, challenges, and advice for other young business owners in Lagos. Kelechi answered each question humbly, focusing on the lessons he had learned and the importance of perseverance. He never boasted, never highlighted how far he had come compared to others. His pride came from seeing his team succeed, clients happy, and his company steadily expanding. At home, Amarachi watched quietly as the recognition unfolded. She saw posts and articles mentioning her husband, heard neighbors and friends complimenting him, and noticed the respect he now commanded in conversations she couldn't influence. Her mockery, her jokes, and her dismissive attitude seemed insignificant in the face of public acknowledgement. For the first time, she truly saw the man she had once called a nobody, being celebrated by others. The irony wasn't lost on her, and she felt a quiet, uncomfortable realization that her judgment had been wrong all along. Kelechi, however, remained focused. Public recognition was welcome, but it wasn't his goal. He continued to refine his operations, improve his services, and mentor his small team. Each media feature or social media mention was just another reminder that consistent effort and integrity paid off. He let his work speak for itself, knowing that the respect he earned in the public eye was the result of months of quiet struggle, late nights, and relentless dedication. Through it all, Kelechi smiled quietly, understanding that true success wasn't measured by applause or headlines, but by the impact he created, the trust he built, and the life he was shaping for himself and his team. Public acknowledgement had arrived, and it was more powerful than he had imagined. Kelechi's business continued to grow steadily, moving beyond Lagos neighborhoods to reach more stores, online shops, and even small corporate clients. His team expanded as well, with skilled and trustworthy staff handling deliveries, customer service, and operations. New contracts kept coming, each bigger than the last, and his small company, Swift Move Logistics, began to stand out as one of the most reliable delivery services in the city. Kelechi's days were still long, but now filled with the satisfaction of seeing tangible results from years of effort. Amarachi, watching from the sidelines, could no longer deny the transformation. She saw neighbors, friends, and even casual acquaintances respecting and seeking out her husband for advice. She realized, privately and quietly, how wrong she had been to mock him so openly. One evening, she approached Kelechi alone, her voice soft and tentative. She admitted that she had underestimated his abilities and apologized for the hurtful words she had spoken in front of her friends. Kelechi listened calmly. He accepted her apology, but he made it clear that forgiveness didn't erase the need for mutual respect. He calmly explained that respect couldn't be demanded or taken lightly. It had to be earned through action, integrity, and consistency. Amarachi nodded, sensing the growth in him, understanding for the first time that he was no longer the same man she had dismissed. News of Kelechi's achievements began to ripple through their circle of friends and family. People admired his resilience, patience, and the quiet humility that accompanied his success. Small celebrations followed, casual gatherings with neighbors, family dinners where his growth was acknowledged, and friends seeking tips on starting their own ventures. Kelechi shared advice willingly, always emphasizing hard work, focus, and honesty. His story became an example of how dedication and perseverance could turn mockery and doubt into tangible success. Through it all, Kelechi felt a deep sense of personal victory. The humiliation he once suffered had been transformed into motivation. His patience had yielded results, and his humility had amplified the respect he earned. Amarachi's apology and the admiration of friends and family were affirmations, but the real victory was internal, a quiet confidence, a recognition of his own worth, and the satisfaction of building something meaningful from nothing. He had proved, not just to her or others, but to himself, that persistence and integrity were the most powerful forms of success. Kelechi stood in the corner of his bustling office, sunlight streaming through the windows and reflecting off the rows of delivery vans parked outside. His team moved with quiet efficiency, coordinating routes, checking packages, and loading vehicles for the day's deliveries. Each face was focused yet smiling, a testament to the small family of professionals he had built through trust, guidance, and shared dedication. Kelechi watched them for a moment, a soft smile spreading across his face. He remembered the years of struggle, the long nights, the insults he had endured, and the quiet determination that had carried him through. Every small victory, every setback, had led to this moment, a moment of fulfillment and pride that no words could replicate. He walked among his team, offering encouragement, checking in on schedules, and sharing small tips that made their work easier. Despite the growth, the contracts, and the recognition, Kelechi remained humble. He knew that respect was not something people simply handed out. It was earned through consistency, integrity, and the courage to keep going when no one was watching. The journey from being called a nobody to becoming a respected entrepreneur had been long, quiet, and sometimes lonely, but every effort had been worth it. As he paused by the window, looking over the Lego streets below, Kelechi reflected on the journey. He thought about Amarachi, about her friends who had once mocked him, and about every person who had doubted his abilities. But those memories no longer carried pain. They carried lessons and motivation. He had transformed humiliation into determination, setbacks into strategy, and doubt into proof. His voice in his mind echoed the words he had come to live by. Respect isn't given, it's earned. The camera panned slowly across the office, capturing the energy of his growing team, the fleet of vans ready to hit the streets, and the sense of order and purpose he had built from nothing. His smile lingers as the voiceover continues. They called me a nobody, but I let my work do the talking. The screen fades gently to black, leaving only his words in bold letters. Humiliation can be fuel. Success is the fire you build from it. It is a quiet, emotional close, not of triumph shouted, but of respect earned, legacy built, and a life transformed. Kelechi's journey had become more than just a business success. It was a testament to patience, perseverance, and the power of letting results speak louder than ridicule ever could. The story ends, leaving viewers inspired and reminded that true success comes from within, forged through effort, humility, and unwavering focus.